APEC has never really resolved the question of whether regionalism means Asia-only regionalism or Asia-Pacific regionalism. And that's now come to a very acute point as both parts of that equation negotiate their own economic integration deals. At some point, they will either have to come together or they might wind up in conflict.
I think APEC, as I mentioned earlier, has a completely different model of economic integration as opposed to the EU style of economic and currency union. So I think today our ambition is just to achieve economic integration in the region by the year 2020. We have never discussed the possibility of moving into common currency arrangement.
In APEC, with reducing tariffs on manufactured goods across the APEC countries, and the results have been impressive. But there's still plenty of room to grow and to improve free trade. Clearly services, capital markets, some of the new areas for growth, particularly environmental goods and services, are still areas where there's significant improvement going forward.
The more that we can get economic integration that facilitates free trade, free movement of people and goods, that'll help the entire computer industry. I think it's also the case that we'll face a new set of challenges as we deal with a cloud-connected computing environment. And we're going to have to also get some integration in terms of the way that we handle the free flow of information in this environment too. So I would hope that, that these activities will help promote both of those. Different countries have different views of some aspects of the free trade. You know, we face, as the WTO does, continuing issues of how to balance different elements of trade between the countries, and I think that those will still take some time to work through.
We do have a pretty good footprint in all of those countries, but not the footprint we could or should have down the road based on infrastructure development that I see coming in the next 10 to 20 years. I could see in all of those countries in that area, a doubling or tripling or quadrupling of infrastructure and thus our industry and thus Caterpillar business. So I think it's a huge opportunity and one I'm very excited about, and I think it's critical for a dialogue like APEC to get their arms around.
You see the need to have a mutually beneficial relationship, not a sponsorship of one region by another region, but something that benefits both countries or both regions. And that's the way we see the development is going.
The emergence of China as G2 economy has changed the landscape of the world economy. But the disproportionate dominance of Chinese economy may not be beneficial for the harmony of the APEC members. And I believe it could be balanced out by Russia's increased and greater role or leadership in the region. Such infrastructures as railway system, electricity, or gas pipeline, it could be helpful for the integration of Russian economy into APEC.
We're involved in mining, metals, power generation, logistics, and we produce resources in Russia and move them to the fast-growing markets in Asia-Pacific region. So very much the strategy for the group is continuous economic integration with end markets in China, Korea, Japan, and other parts of Asia-Pacific which are closer to us. It's only 2 hours from Irkutsk to Beijing, so it's bound to be developed.
而且俄罗斯的资源优势和中国的这个日常生活用品的优势，这个可以做到很好的互补。另外呢，中国的能源你们也都知道也比较紧缺，是吧？所以现在我们跟俄罗斯的能源的合作、贸易的合作，应该说是合作的比较好。在这合作当中呢，我们建设银行 也为这种合作呢做出了一些这个应该做的事情。
I think now what the world wants really is for China to change its model of development to rely more on domestic demand rather than export, and this is already happening. If that comes about, it will engage the US in the region in a very high quality FTAs that really meets the needs of businesses, so that will be good. And similarly, my wish really is that for the other ASEAN free trade arrangements, particularly between ASEAN and China, Japan and Korea, we hope that they also remain very high standard because really for businesses, they need this kind of 21st century agreement for it to work for our businesses.
The old focus on tariffs and quotas is now really replaced by an effort to harmonize the internal policies of key member countries with respect to standards, regulatory measures, the whole range of microeconomic policies and procedures that multinationals run into across the whole range of countries in which they operate. To the extent that those arrangements can be harmonized or at least brought into consistency with each other to avoid conflicts, the more efficient it makes for the multinational supply chain, the fewer frictions that result in the transmission among different parts of the firms, and therefore the benefits to the companies.
So I've got high expectations on the core APEC agenda of REI, Regional Economic Integration, and also driving maybe SME development across APEC, which is an important part of the corporate fabric of all countries. You know, all of our countries, 90% of our enterprises are SMEs.